Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of King of Commercial Real Estate. Marjorie Roman here, and I have my amazing mentor here, Dolf de Roos. Thank you for coming today.
As always, it's a pleasure,
And
Marjorie.
today we're going to talk about one of your favorite topics, raising capital for commercial deals. So one of the strategies, I know that it's like bringing some fellow investors into your deals. How do you go about those negotiations with them?
Well, that's an interesting topic because the last thing you want to do in any circumstances, whether it's for commercial real estate or real estate in general or any other thing, is ask anyone for money. I once had a friend, Marjorie, said, "Hey, will you lend me $50? And his response was, $40? What do you need $30 for?" Meaning people don't want to lend you money. Even banks, banks claim they want to lend you money. You're thinking of buying a home, come and see us. We'll waive application fees or whatever. But that's what they say. But at the end of the day, you should never go to a bank and ask for money. Because as soon as you ask anyone for anything, they have the ability to say no. So let's talk about banks first, and then we'll come back to people.
All right.
I have never asked a bank for money
How do you get money from them then?
because I offer them participation in a great investment. Do you see the difference?
That's right.
Do you
It's
see
all
the
about
difference?
mindset. Yeah.
So, and we're probably not going to talk about it today, but I have what's called a proposal for finance that I take to the banks. Because most people, when they apply for a mortgage, they go online and fill out the forms and all the pages of this is my salary and my job and how long I've been there. But I write up a proposal for finance.
Oh, wow.
And it's got a very specific format. The bulk of it is on one page. The rest is all appendices. And my opening statement is, a mortgage is offered on a property located at such and such an address with a registered appraisal evaluation of, say, $300,000 and rental income of $26,000 a year, representing a yield of, I have to work it out, that's about 7% return. But I don't know if you noticed it because I did it very quickly in the beginning, but I said a mortgage is offered. I didn't say a mortgage is asked for, a mortgage is pleaded for, begged, or whatever. No. And you think about it. Most people know in commercial real estate who the lessee is and who the lessor is, right? The lessee is the tenant and the lessor is the landlord.
That's right. Yeah.
But when it comes to mortgages, we know we've got a mortgagee and a mortgagor. So most people say we go to the bank to get a mortgage, so the bank gives us the mortgage, they must be the mortgagor, and we get the mortgage, so we're the mortgagee, right? No, it's
That's
wrong.
what most people would think.
Yeah, but it's absolutely wrong. It's 180 degrees diametrically opposed to the true situation because we don't go to the bank to get a mortgage. We want money from the bank. We want to buy a property, but we don't have the money to buy it. The bank has the money, but fortunately doesn't want to buy the property. Why do I say fortunately? Because since they have the money, if they did want to buy it, they could buy it. But blissfully, they don't want to buy a property, but they have the money. So we go and say, Mr. Bank Manager, there's a property available for sale. Luckily for me, you don't want to buy it. You've got the money. You could have, but I do want to buy it, but I don't have the money. So if you will lend me the money to enable me to buy it, I will give you a pledge wherein I promise to faithfully pay interest every month, and under some prescribed mechanism, I will pay back the principal eventually. So think of the transaction here, Marjorie. The bank lends us the money, and we give them a pledge. That pledge is called the mortgage. That's why we, the property buyers, we are the mortgagors. We give them that pledge, and the bank is the mortgagee. They accept that pledge from us, in return for which they give us the money. So when you go to the bank, you should be offering them the mortgage. We are the mortgagors. That's why I say a mortgage is offered of X dollars to be secured against a property located at such and such an address. Just the psychology of not asking a bank for something, but offering them something actually changes it around.
That's right. And if anything, I feel like it's such a mindset change as well.
It is.
Because as an investor, it would give you the strength to go and the courage, I guess, to go and face the bank instead of looking at them as the superior being that is going to allow you to have access to your deals as an equal partner at that point.
That's right. So I once had the secretary of one of the head honchos of one of the 3 largest real estate companies in the country come to me and said, Dolf, I did everything you said. I went to the bank and I offered them a mortgage. And between the sobs, because she was tearful about it, she said, and they turned me down.
Oh, no.
I know. And I said, well, what did the other bank say? And she said, excuse me? I said, what did the other bank say? And she said, but I've been with this bank for 20 years. And I replied and said, well, it seems to me that you're offering your bank more loyalty than they're offering you.
That's right.
If they turned you down, go to the other banks. Marjorie, in this country, there are over 8,000 banks. What do the others say? So when I get people to write this proposal for finance, don't print one copy. I get them to print 10 copies. And when you go to 10 banks, don't just take the one for that bank to the one you're visiting. I encourage them, not many people do this, but I do, have the whole stack of 10 in your arm. And when you get to the bank, you say, well, which bank is this? Wells Fargo, Chase, whatever, and say, here's your copy. Oops, excuse me, make the mistake on purpose. Excuse me, that's the one for the bank across the road. Here's your copy. Let them know that you're going to all these banks, you're shopping around, and I tell them, at the end of the day, I don't really mind where the money comes from, because once I've bought the property and I've paid whatever it is, $200,000 or $2 million for the building, whatever it is, it won't matter whether it came from this bank or the next one or the next one. My cash flow will be the same. I'm indifferent. I'm ambivalent as to which one of you funds it.
That's right.
And when you have this attitude of, I'm offering you a stunningly good mortgage on this great property that's got huge cash flow, and by the way, if it doesn't have huge cash flow, why would you want to buy it anyway?
Not a
Then
good
you
deal.
will find that the banks will end up in competition with you. I've literally had it where I've taken one of my stack of proposals and given it to a bank manager, and he looks at it, and I know whether he likes the property or not by the first words that come out of his mouth. In this case, he said, how did you find this one? I know what he's thinking, Mike. He's thinking, dang, I wish I'd found this
So
property.
that's when they are agreeing to the same deal that you got. But
Well,
what
they
about
like
if
the
they
deal.
are
They
giving
like
you a
it.
negative answer? What are the keywords
Well, we'll come to
you
that. But
use?
just to finish this thought, he said, Dolf, if I give you a commitment to fund this property right now, will you give me a commitment to accept our money and not go to the other banks? You've got competition from the banks now. So that's a great thing. Now, back to your question, what if this particular bank says, no, we think the property stinks, or we think you stink, or we don't have enough money, or they turn you down? It doesn't matter. They're not saying whether they like you or not. They're not saying whether they like your shoes or not. Who cares whether they like your shoes? Who cares whether they like you? Who cares whether they'll never fund it? Just don't even think about it. Go to the next bank. There are 8,000 of them. And I know we've got some listeners in other countries. I come from a country where we had 4 trading banks. You might say, well, it wouldn't take long to go to 4. What if they turn you down at all 4 of the trading banks? Well, there might only be 4 banks, but there are hundreds of branches. Go to the next branch. They don't all call each other, hey, Dolf, he hasn't seen me yet. What he's going to talk about? No, just go to the next one. I did this once. I went to 17 branches in succession.
Oh, wow.
Before someone said, yes, what a great deal.
And they were from the same bank.
Well,
like most of them.
They were spread out between 4 banks. So yes, on average, there were, every 4th one was the same as the, yeah. So what? You just need one bank to say yes, and you've got the money. So it's an attitude thing. People are so emotionally attacked. They turned me down. This woman, the secretary I told you about, she was crying on the phone because the bank turned her down. And I have some empathy for that, but get over it because there are other banks. And she did find a lender who lent her money.
That's right. And also, like, using that strategy of the competition kind of thing definitely works. Me, myself, like, I have asked for a couple of loans for a couple of investments myself. And it was interesting how by telling them, well, Mr. Bank, here's the proposal. I have this deal. And just so you know, the other bank gave me this amazing rate. And they would be like, no, we're actually going to give you a better rate.
Oh, yeah.
Let me give you this one. So,
It depends on market
yeah.
circumstances, of course. But yes, you can literally tell them what else you've been offered.
Exactly.
Can you better this offer? They're offering 4%.
that
Can you go
competition.
below that? I did that when I refinanced my last commercial building.
Ooh.
They said, well, you're at 5%. We can come down a quarter of a point. I said, yeah, but if I just go to another bank. I said, here's one I went to. They offered 4.2. And they said, well, we can't quite offer that, but we'll come back down because by the time you figure in getting a new appraiser, and we'll match the net effect for you.
Awesome.
So yes, it's like anything else, but most people don't think that way. They think, oh, it's commercial or it's real estate. They set the rules. I don't understand it. And so they pay too much. And you've got to think of it as a game, Marjorie, because in 100 years' time, unless there's some amazing medical breakthrough, we're not going to be sitting around discussing it. It'll be all over. And at the end of the day, it won't even matter how much money we will have made. What will really matter is, did you have fun along the way? How many people did you help? How many smiles did you put on people's faces? So it's all a matter of, are you doing good and are you having fun doing it?
That's right. And thank you so much for sharing that, because then again, it is a game, but it's a game that you can have fun with, and that you can have people having fun with you as well. Now, speaking about people, you mentioned that there's also a way for you to have investors with you on the same deal, commercial deals that you're looking at. How do you go about reaching out to them? How do you even find them?
Well, firstly, as a broad blanket disclaimer, when you reach out to members of the public to help you fund a deal, you've got to make sure you conform to all the ridiculous, well, no, they're not ridiculous, but to all the myriad of financial regulatory requirements. You can't solicit funds from the public without them being accredited investors, and you have to conform to all kinds of rules and regulations. It's different when you know people. And what's a definition of knowing people? Well, if you ask your uncle to help you fund a small commercial acquisition, I don't think any financial regulatory authority is going to come in and say, you didn't have the right to speak with your uncle. But it gets a bit more convoluted when it's a second cousin twice removed versus someone you met in a coffee bar last week, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got to conform to those things. But having said that, if you've got a great deal, and it truly is a great deal, and you just can't afford to do it on your own, rather than not take it on, you may as well go and see if there's anyone else that's willing to participate with you. And you should get some credit for finding the deal and analyzing it and negotiating it. So you might get a shareholding that is disproportionate to the cash you're putting in. You may have no cash left at all. That's okay. Put no cash in, but you still get some of the deal because you found it.
Right, you did the hard work to actually get that deal.
Right. And one place to go is to property investors associations. There are clubs all over the world, really, where people get together to discuss deals and how they find them. And you'll often find that some people have more time than money, and other people have more money than time. And it's a perfect marriage for someone who's got all the time in the world to find a great deal but no money, to partner with someone who's got a ton of money but no time or inclination to look for deals.
That's right.
I was once at an event, it was one I ran, and a woman stood up and said she was given a house, but she had to remove it from the land, like they were going to develop something new there. And she could take the house free of charge, but she had to remove it, and she didn't know what to do. And I said, well, you should talk with people. And I barely said that when another woman stood up and said, oh my gosh, I've just been bequeathed a piece of land, but I don't have the money to put anything on it. Oh. And they literally did a deal together where they joined forces, put her house on the other lady's land, and they rented it out, and they had their first investment property going. And yes, they had expenses. They had to pay for the truck to remove it. That was at the time $8,000 or something,
wow.
et cetera. But in terms of the value of the finished product, the land with a house on it that was generating rental, their costs were minimal. So you've got to let it be known what you want to do. And if you're shy and introverted and you want to stay at home watching TV, then you probably won't end up doing a deal, but it wouldn't matter because you wouldn't be watching or listening to this podcast anyway. But if you've got the get up and go, you know, there's that old saying that people with get up and go have gotten up and gone, and they're doing things. If you want to get a deal done, ask a busy person. They're busy because they're getting deals done. So talk with people who are out there. You know, all of us, we either have more time than money or money than time. And find a match and team up with them. So anyway, that's a broad brush statement. How you approach it is, again, just tell it as it is. Firstly, always tell it as it is. Because if you get caught out in an exaggeration, to put it bluntly, then they're going to doubt everything you say from there on. You just tell it as it is. Here's the good, here's the bad, here's the ugly. Do you want to join forces?
Be honest
Always.
as you can with those deals. For sure. And the cool thing is that by joining those forces with those other investors, you do get to have their expertise if they are more in the game than you. You also get to have the resources that you're lacking of. And you also get to provide the resources that you currently have. It may be your ability to find deals, or it may be your time to actually work on the deal and all the documents and everything, whereas the other person just comes up with the funds for that. So then again, that networking opportunity with the right people. Thank you so much again, Dolf. And thank you to our audience. So go out there. Don't be shy. There's so many investors that would be a great match for you so you can have the deal of your life. We're going to see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.